Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is John Newman. I am from Sports Card Nation Podcast. We are a every Friday guest-driven show. I got three guests on today's program that have all been guests on that show. I do a Monday show called Hobby Quick Hits, which is usually just me, one topic, a little bit shorter most of the time. But shameless plug. Tomorrow's episode is going to have Tim Virgilio and Eric Norton from Signatures for Soldiers. And speaking of Signatures for Soldiers, they're one of the charities benefiting from Hobby Palooza. If you donate to Super Chat, many of the monies go towards that great charity. Speaking of that, today we're going to give away three SGC submissions valued at $30 a piece, so a $90 value. Thank you to SGC. Uh, we're going to give that away. And listen, the turnaround times right now, 10 to 14 days, it's insane. And they're a great grading company and come up for us there. So any super chat, $5 or more, will get an entry for that. And we'll also get you entries to all the prizes on this great event, Hobby Palooza, put on by Bench Clear Media. That being said, I want to thank Ty Wilson from Bench Clear and Mike Moynihan for once again granting us a slot here and allowing me to have some friends on and talk some hobby. And we all know that if you're watching this, I hope you think that's a lot of fun. So, with that sort of housekeeping out of the way, let me bring on the guests and intro them from a great podcast in their own right. Cousins Collectibles was great to be on that show, and vice versa. They were on mine. Cousin Tony and Cousin Oz. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, what's up, John? Pleasure to be on here. Hobby Palooza. You asked us to be on here, and like I said, it's an honor. So thank you for having us on.
Well,
Absolutely.
thank you for coming on. And Danny Black from Sports Baltimore. He's a podcaster. This guy's on radio, and he's the consultant for the Babe Ruth Museum in Baltimore. And if we wait about 30 more minutes, there'll be another title we could probably add to that. But all good friends of mine, and happy that they're on with me this morning. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you for having me. Nice to see everybody. Going a great day today, Hobby Palooza.
Yeah, and again, with the super chat and to win the SGC, prize, even if you don't win, right, it goes to a great cause and charities that do a lot for great people. So I like to say it's a win-win. You're either going to win something or you're going to donate to a great charity. So you
I'm here
can't
for
lose.
I'm here for the free slab. So let's go.
All right, Marshawn Lynch. All right, let's get into our first topic, guys. And when I knew you guys were coming on, I asked you kind of each to bring a topic, and you did. I knew that wouldn't be an issue. And all four of us do, collect PC for ourselves, and we also sell, right? Whether it be at a show or online or other ways. And talk about collecting for personal happiness and collecting for lack of a better way of putting it. Let's be honest, right? Profit. I'll just keep it real short and let you guys talk. But I did my first show a long time ago in 1987, and I've been doing shows almost every year since then. And so I was 15, and but I also have a lot of cards I keep. Many of them are behind me here. So I kind of wear both of these hats. I think you guys would qualify with both of those hats too. Some people frown upon that. The people who like I don't sell any cards kind of will look at us sort of down their nose a little bit, but to each your own. But I don't know who wants to chime in first, but kind of your thoughts on doing both, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'll kick it off. Like for me, it's I collecting for the love is a lot easier and a lot less stressful than selling. Selling cards, most of the time, my cards that I sell are just the same card, and I want to get that same card just in a better grade. So for I just know that I'm not buying guys that I just could care less about or are hot because if nobody buys them, I'm gonna really hate them. So just for me, I know that it's the cards that I do sell are basically stuff that I would collect anyways, and it just happens to be that I'm just trying to upgrade them, and it just it's an easier way that if they don't sell, you can still love those cards and not have that bad taste in your mouth because you bought somebody who was supposed to be the next great thing and now he sucks and nobody wants it. So
Yeah. Piggybacking off of that, like definitely, not into prospecting at all, John. That's something I've never like. When I started collecting, it was back in the day. Stopped for a long time. Got back into it like mostly everybody else during the pandemic era, and just started PCing. A lot of my favorite players: Allen Iverson, Dr. J, Michael Jordan, a lot of the '90s b-ball players, and then some oddball stuff. So I never saw myself even thinking about setting up and selling. It was just something that we wanted to get the experience, and we've set up a couple times at a show and did well. But the main thing, it's everything I buy, everything I purchase. It's not with that mentality to, what can I get for this? I wonder, if I get it now at 500, maybe I could sell this, at the next show probably for like 800. That's never been my thought process. It's always been, man, this card interests me. I love this player, or I love this celebrity, or this autograph's pretty cool, whatever it is. And then, you know what? I took my PC to the show, and did well. People liked what I collected, so that's kind of how it all evolved. Just stuff that I loved, not so much, looking for profit.
Well, if I can piggyback on that, it's really interesting, kind of on the difference, and I'm so glad you explained it like that, because for me, it's three roles. It's the personal collection. I work as a broker, so I'm representing clients a lot of times, and I have to have their financial interest at heart, and that it is a different type of pressure. And then I have my own investment pieces. So for me, what I like to do on my own stuff is I don't mind buying stuff that I think is also a good investment for my PC. So if I have to, sell it down the road, and one of the reasons I brought some of these cards is Lamar, Baltimore. I will hold on to that in the PC, but if he wins another MVP and that becomes $1,000 card, see ya. I don't love Lamar that much. So, but if I'm working for a client and the client's giving me money as an an investable asset, well, now I'm looking from a whole different perspective. Now we're looking at ROI. Now we're looking at historical sales. Now it's a market analysis, and from that point, it is got to be totally dispassionate. You can't go prospecting. You can't take those risks. In a personal level, I love prospecting, and then that's why I think it's a great, kind of counter look to what you do. I go to minor league games. I cover minor league games. I used to work in baseball. I mean, I'll sign a kid, at 12 if they'll make a card for him, and I'll take that chance. I'm not going to hit on all of them, but I don't. I kind of like watching the progress because I'm a baseball fan, and that's where I prospect most. But for clients, I don't like putting the risk on them. So I would say the prospecting and the risk is more PC. And then the only other thing I want to show is I had a Bill Ripken era card. That will be a permanent PC, the FU card. But the George Best Vintage Soccer, that's one that I'm doing as a investment piece, but I love shopping for the vintage soccer. That was not something I would have grown up doing, but I've learned that market. Now I enjoy it personally for both reasons. So that's why I brought these cards, just to kind of show the combination. It can be both, because you have that passion. I love this, and that's the fun part.
A couple. I want to say good mornings. We got the 70s card show. John Keating. Good morning, Grant Gaskell, Lou Rock, Fernando, the card hobbyist, Ray from Philly. Man, Philly. It's like a Philly takeover this morning because John Keating's from that area too. Crick James, what's up, guys? The card hobbyist, Bowman 53. Good morning. Otto Olson. Good morning. With me right now, I'm on a buying freeze after some recent purchases, so I can have some money for the national. But under normal circumstances, right, I like to buy collections, right? I like to just buy. So if someone's getting out, not that I want people to leave the hobby, but it's a natural part of what happens. And so when I look at a collection, I'm kind of looking at it with, one eye is, if I get this collection, that one is never going into the show inventory. That one is going to be for the personal collection. And then the other eye is like, I don't have any sort of affiliation or attachment to that, and that's going to make it into the show inventory boxes. So I look at, like, when I'm buying a collection with two lenses. When I go to a show, guys, as just a consumer, I'm not set up. I'm just going through the front door to look. I'm doing sort of the same thing, right? Maybe if I see a cool Chris Mullen card, he's not a super popular guy, but to me, being from Brooklyn, I'm a Chris Mullen guy. I might pick that up at that show, and that's never going to make my show inventory. And then if there's something else, which could be a whole gamut, it's just the deal I find that might go back into my show inventory. So I sort of wear both of those hats. And years ago when I had my store, that was an issue because I didn't put everything out. Then I did, and people would ask me, "Hey, do you have this?" And I didn't know how to answer. And I learned because a lot of that stuff once I was out of the store, a lot of that stuff I wish I had it out in the case and sold it when the music stopped. So I've learned to get less attached to cards. Like I love cards. I think we all love the hobby, but I just don't get unless it's certain cards, Jackie Robinson, Mean Joe Green, Chris Mullen, Mark Messier, I don't get too attached to them.
Hey, John, I don't know how you did it, but you somehow started an Eagles chant in the chat. So well done.
I was just thinking, am I in the wrong group here? If you have a keyboard and you live in Baltimore, feel free to attach the two thoughts.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
We
when
tend
when you held up your Lamar Jackson rookie there, I was just going to say, what are you going to do if T.J. Watt sacks him? And not that I'm rooting for injury, but God forbid, does something.
I'm sorry. I have nightmares about Mason Rudolph, John. You're absolutely correct.
He's not. Listen, I'm not going to make this a sports show because we're here for the card. He's not even going to break camp with him. They're going to either move him or cut him. I believe that's my.
Somehow a Ravens fan and a Steeler fan got caught with a couple of Eagle fans. I don't know what we're doing.
Now, quick question, John,
Yeah,
before you get into
sure.
that. Cousin Danny B. Now you were talking about the prospecting in baseball, so I'm more of like an NBA fan, and like I said, oddball stuff. So I never really got into the whole prospecting with baseball. Like, is that something like you guys in that collect baseball? Is that just like bred into you guys? Because I always see that, and I could never like wrap my head around it. Just waiting, 5, 6, 7 years for a dude to come up through the minors, and like explain that a little bit to me.
Well, I think, John, you and I are a little bit similar in that we both like vintage and we like prospecting, and we might be a little bit unique. I find most people in the hobby tend to go to one direction or the other. To answer your question, I enjoy the scouting aspect of it. So yeah, I don't mind that. And for the prospects, a lot of times their prices max out before they hit the majors anyway. So when you're looking at a timeline, you don't really need that 5, 7 years. You really just need Baseball America to put them on the list, and then it turns around. But I got news for you with basketball and the card agreements coming up. You are going to start seeing these basketball player cards a lot early. So I'll ask you guys: would you invest in a freshman in college if there was a card?
Tony,
no.
that's not true. You already did.
Well, no, but no and yes and no, I should say. Like if it's $5, yes. If it's $5,000 and the kid hasn't even put on shoes yet, no. So I'm like, why? To me, I always say like, you can look at a guy who's played forever. Pick a guy, Michael Jordan, right? You know how the movie ends. You've seen it. So why am I going to buy into some kid again who is, oh, this guy's the next great thing and blah blah blah, and he hasn't. Again, I just, some of these prices, to me, I always say the hobby's upside down.
Well, Tony, I actually agree with you 100%. I won't overpay for those cards. I want to get in before they go up, before people hear about them, before the draft. And then I want to target the guys they're not talking about. Everybody else can buy Jordan Lawler and Marcelo Mayer. And I'm going to look at the second and third round. And, and when I go see a guy, I'll drop that $10 on a green refractor, because that's going to become $70 easily if he makes a full-time team. So I completely agree with you. The people that spend, $30,000 on a refractor for Jason Dominguez before he's put on a uniform is a whole different conversation. So I completely agree with you. That's a great point.
Yeah, that I can
For
get
me-
behind.
Yeah, for me, guys, I got in. I was in the hobby before Bowman came back with all their Bowman draft products, but I was a big into minor league sets, so I was buying minor league sets during my store days. McGuire before he went called up to the A's, Canseco, Griffey. I still love the '87 Bellingham Mariners set, Griffey's first card. So that was my way of prospecting, was with minor league sets. And when I say buying the sets, I was buying them 10 to 20 at a time. There was, I don't know if Lake Country Prospects was a card store that specialized back then in selling minor league sets. And so I would try to buy them before, the hype of a player really ratcheted up. And many of those sets, truth be told, I sold for a pretty good ROI once those players did reach their potential. I still have a lot of sets that didn't in my garage in monster boxes. Just the same, right? That's the chance you take. But if anyone ever needs like Greg Jeffries minor league sets, I'm your guy. Even though I still love Greg Jeffries.
I'll trade you for a Todd Van Poppel.
Or Brian Taylor, right?
Right.
But so that was my way of prospecting before Bowman, and then once Bowman hit the scene with the draft picks 3 or 4 years out, I definitely, so we're holding out hope. We're waiting.
They're all in top loaders, and we all know that. That's the best part.
The bad part is the top loaders are worth
More.
So when you look at those 300 Jeffries, you're like, I can just take the top loaders and leave them in the soft sleeves, right? So that was my early indicate, to get into prospecting. Then Bowman came, and I definitely am a minor league fan. I live now in a minor league city. I live 2 miles from the Syracuse Mets AAA stadium. I'm also a Mets fan. That worked out pretty good. But I've also I'll travel to minor league games. We go to Binghamton. When I was in New York, we would travel. Obviously, we had the big teams there, but we also would go to minor league games. I even went to the spring training a few years down in Florida. So I've always been a minor league baseball kind of guy, and so the Bowman, was I welcomed that because it allowed me to get some of those guys before they hit the bigs. But now you see guys spending like Danny said, $30,000 on a colored auto of a guy that barely even played in the minor leagues, let alone the major leagues. And I don't do stuff like that. When I see that, I just think of all the Hall of Fame vintage rookie cards graded I could buy for $30,000. And even if it's 6, I'd rather have those 6 graded Hall of Fame rookies than one unproven, guy. Because imagine you spend that money on a Bowman Chrome prospect and they don't pan out. God forbid they get injured or they just never pan out. And man, that one was sting for the rest of your life. So,
It's probably safe to say that most of those, Danny, you'd probably know. I mean, more prospects don't pan out than do.
So yeah, and that's the math equation. So how many cards can I buy at $5 and $10 that nobody's heard of, and then how many of those guys am I going to sell for $100 or $200? And what's my in and out? The nice thing is with the newer cards, I don't necessarily feel the compelled to grade them, because people are chasing the player and the auto. Or vintage, John, correct me if you feel differently. I feel like vintage should be graded typically for my collection. Maybe maybe other people feel differently. So for me, I don't have that cost of grading. If I can get in cheap, I don't break wax. I don't go searching for packs. That to me, that's not financially secure. And so I'd rather drop that $10 at $40 on somebody, when it first pops, and then I'm thrilled to sell it for $500 later. But if I miss on a couple guys, I still have that return on investment to cover myself on those losses. Now I'm not, once again, like you said, I'm not buying the expensive cards. I want to drop $5. I want to drop $10. So that's the goal. Is that value? Where can I get that to match?
Okay.
And look, that's a great question too. But look at what we got going on. Again, it's early yet. These guys can wind up being Hall of Famers, but we're seeing, a can't miss guy like Jarred Kelenic striking out 40% of the time. This guy was like acclaimed for his batting average. He's barely can get above 200, striking out quite a bit. Joe Adell's been to the minors 3 times now, and there's you hear can't miss. There is no real such thing. I mean, there's just different ratings of prospects. And then you see Wander, Bobby Witt, faring well. Adley Rushman is starting to hit. So you never truly know. They call being in cards, right? Gambling. I think that's the perfect example, right? the player. I hate to say it like this. They're sort of like pull tabs, right? Some of them you rip open and they're going to be all right, and others are just not going to be what you hope they are. And I think it's like anything, right? If you're right 6 out of 10 times, you're probably all right. If you're right 4 out of 10 times, you're going to lose some money, and it's just but that's the fun, right? That's the adrenaline rush, and whenever I've bought a guy that's a prospect and he turns out, it's always a great feeling, right? You're taking credit you shouldn't be getting, like you had something to do with
Yeah.
his success when you had nothing to do with it. So, it's but I just the people that spend 5 6 figures for these guys that haven't even been in the. I just think of all the cards I could buy with that kind of dough rather than someone unproven.
Well, it's also, I always equate it to the stock market. It's a mutual fund versus, being a day trader. And I don't like the risk of day trading. However, I'll invest in an Uber, hold it for a month, and see what happens. So there is a little bit of in between with prospects, and their value typically goes down once they hit the majors. It's a really weird thing. So John threw out a bunch of names that are classic, but those guys sold for a ton of money right before they hit the majors. I mean, you can look at Wander Franco. I mean, what was he going for? And he's even played well, but he's had injuries. His prices are through the floor. So, really with prospects, it's almost a minor league game. You almost got to get out before they hit the majors, which is very unique to baseball.
That and then a whole nother category, Danny, is you got guys, and I love them. Like Fernando Tatis Jr. The
Hmm.
guy's a super stud, superstar, but now we have to start to wonder these injuries. It seems
Yeah.
like almost every year. Like there's no doubting the talent and the production when he's on the field, but there's a lot of people who spend a lot of money on his inventory that are probably sweating little bullets. That this is not going to be a recurring theme, and if it is, they're going to probably lose most likely. But it's also a great opportunity. Like when Luis Robert got hurt last year, right? Everyone was jumping off the boat, and I love Luis Robert, so I bought a bunch of his stuff, and he's playing pretty well. So
I thought I had
there's
one with me. Yep.
so there you got to be smart. And even if you're smart or you think you're smart, sometimes you're wrong. That's just the nature of the beast. So don't get discouraged if you're wrong sometimes, right? I like to say even the best hitters, right, or make out 7 out of 10 times. So same thing in cards. Although you probably want to have a higher batting average when it comes to the card side of things.
And I, you know, I get the whole thing. It's like, but I think so more so for a lot of people, it's that fact of being right. You know what I mean? You get the joy of being the first one on that train, and and watching that player, and then when they finally do, become a star, you're like, yeah, I told you. So it's almost like, the gambling aspect of it, but the fact of just being right on somebody.
But let me ask you a question. Don't you do that in every other sport where you're seeing a guy come out of high school? They just don't have the card.
Right.
Baseball's the only one with a professional minor league system.
Right.
I think it would be identical if there was a developmental football league. Can you imagine Trevor Lawrence going into a minor league, what his cards would have gone for? So it is unique, and it's the only sport that has that professional minor system. Basketball seems to be going to that, and that's why, the G League and everything else. I bet people are in 5 or 10 years talk about basketball prospecting like they talk about baseball.
Yeah, with that, and it's funny you said that with the G League. I was thinking that same thing too. I'm like, man, as that becomes, because you're seeing guys,
Yep.
it works. It's good for the league.
And they're skipping college.
Yeah,
And they're
yeah.
going right there. So that is literally prospecting.
Yeah,
See,
And
I
now
don't.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the football one will work. I think we sort of have that now with this USFL and what was that other league? The names.
Yeah.
Well, that's the point. We don't even
That's-
remember.
Listen, if you're Trevor Lawrence, you're not going to the D League. You're going to go right and start and maybe struggle like he did last year, but learn the ropes and that the Jags are hanging their hat on him as the franchise quarterback. They're not sending him to Birmingham to learn under some coach. No offense, that played Division III football potentially. So he's going to learn in the NFL like he did last year, and hopefully turns the corner, and I think he will, and that thing was a whole mess with the Meyer and that. So,
I'm
but
sorry. I'm sorry.
again,
Who's Aaron Donald? I don't know. Who's Aaron Donald?
I'm not buying that either. But we're not making this a sports show, even though we have a lot of sports fans on it.
All right.
But yeah,
I'm done.
I,
I'm done.
I think it works in baseball. I think it can work in basketball because I think we've seen some of these basketball guys. They need that 2-3 year development, and then they come up and produce. Hockey already has a minor league system that works similar to baseball, but football I think is the one of the out of the four major sports. It's you're either gonna get it done in the NFL or you're gonna have a life after football sink in a lot sooner than you probably wanted it to. But and that's just the way it is. So I don't think in football you only have so many miles on your tires to begin with. So every year spent in the minors, if that's what you will call it, is one less of a short NFL career by most accounts anyway. So I think it's you want to get in there, and the team wants you to get in there, and play or show you can do it, or they're on to the next guy.
Yeah.
Like hopefully the Steelers are with Mason Rudolph, by the way. So got to throw in there.
I thought we're no sports. No sports.
Yeah, yeah.
I had to. All right,
But
guys.
John, seriously, real
Yeah.
quick. But that's what makes the hobby great. Is there's no
Yeah.
wrong way to collect.
Yep.
We could
There
talk
is
about
no.
prospecting. We could talk about collecting goats. Talk about just people that you love or just celebrities. It really doesn't matter as long as you're happy at the end of the day with the collection that you got.
Honestly,
Yeah,
and that's
nope.
Oz, you're so right. The four of us would have this conversation in a room with no microphone and have the exact same conversation because we love this. If we didn't love this, who cares what we're buying?
Right.
If you've ever met those people at a show who are literally just looking at numbers in their phone all day, we don't hang out. We don't hang out with them. I mean, there is a passion that connects all of us.
Yeah.
No doubt. I've always said, sure, I have expensive cards, but even if they weren't, I'd still be doing cards. It just
Look,
happens.
this
to
this
work
this
out.
is what I'm buying right now. These are reprints.
Yeah.
I'm a
They're
Clemente
very
collector.
nice looking. Yeah, that's a nice
And I'm
looking
buying
set.
these, and I could care less. I mean, these are cheap, but they're a cheap fix for me to get my Clemente fix until I, buy the stuff, and yeah, that's exactly it. I like these. I can care less what
Yeah.
just
We're gonna segue into our next topic, but before we do, I want to remind if someone came in late after the intro, we are giving away 3 SGC grading submissions free. How do you win them? Donate $5 or more in super chat. You were entered. That is for those who are not good at math. That is a $90 retail value at $30 a sub. And if you like to get your cards back in the same month, they're the way to go right now. I love SGC. Yes, they are a sponsor of Sports Card Nation, but I loved them before they actually came on the show as a sponsor. So I haven't changed my tune at all. So, and the nice thing is, if you donate, even if you don't win, you're eligible not only just for the SGC giveaway, you're eligible for all the Bench Clear Media prizes, including a box of Prism football and many other boxes. So you're entered in all of them, including the 3 SGC. If you don't win anything, which will probably happen to me, just you can rest assured that the money goes to worthy charities, and it's a win-win, and that sort of thing. Real quick, John Keating, that 70 Card Show. Question for you, Danny. Says, what's the best restaurant in Baltimore? And he's saying there's only one answer, only one correct answer.
A lot of pressure. I assume we're going to be talking crab cakes, and I'm going to go with Pappas, and I'm ready to have the argument if you want to say Jimmy's Seafood or a Breckies. But I'm also a meat and potatoes guy, so I'll see you at the Capitol Grill anytime.
All right. I don't know if John will agree. He'll put in comment. All right. So let's get into Mark Hoyle. Hi, Mike Hoyle. Mike O. Just kind of saying hello to people coming in that I didn't before. If I miss you, it's not on purpose. Our second topic is the market. Let's keep it real. It's down right now for the most part. That's not all bad. It creates some buying opportunities. But let's talk about that. Where the market is and what are some of the opportunities with a down market. Danny, I'm going to start with you because you literally just got out of the car from the the Chantilly, Virginia show, and you told me you had some interesting observations, and I actually told you don't tell me, save it for right now. So here we go.
No, what you told me was how far away from Baltimore am I and what time is it?
And then save it for the show.
Right, right. So it was a really interesting vibe in the room. You know, in the last couple of years, we just have this pandemic rush, and it's that new blood and that new energy where everything's so exciting and so new. All the technology's coming out. Everybody's doing everything. That's gone. I don't know if it's that the pandemic collectors have now gotten used to the hobby, so everybody's settling down a little bit. Everybody took a hit maybe on the prices, so everybody's calming down and everybody's trying to get out of the money they put in their cards. But dealers were not buying hardly any. The trade nights were dead. I mean, everybody had so much money in their cards, they just couldn't, they wouldn't come down, wouldn't move. The negotiating was tough everywhere. And even buying, I mean, you know, the dealer just bought at the high point, and you know, I hate when a dealer tells me I can't sell it. I got this much into it. Well, that's fine. So you're going to get zero out of it. You know, you can sell it to me at today's price, or you can hold on to it. And it was just kind of that vibe in the room. You know, the show was very well produced and put on. You know, it had nothing to do with the quality of the show. Just the people in there, and even the dealers seemed a little burnt out. I think it's been a long couple of years for everybody. But I think the wallets are a little bit tighter and the excitement is down a little bit. Maybe they're saving it for the national, but just what I've been seeing in the last couple of months with my clients also, you know, it's just different. You're seeing a lot more vintage, a lot more high end, and base is dead. Let me tell you something. If it's not colored or autoed at this point, it is absolutely dead. I mean, people were giving away base Prism 10s. I mean, my kids were with me, and guys were handing them, you know, good players, base Prism 10s, just giving them away. And these were cards that were selling for $50, $75, you know, in the last year or two.
Real quick, Danny, a follow up question. Um, you know, you said how like dealers were in a little bit too much on certain cards. So were they putting them out in their showcases and overpricing them, or were they keeping them in their show inventory boxes and not putting them out?
No, I was actually looking for 65 mantles to give you an example. And I mean, the prices were 2 year old prices. And I would say to a dealer, you know, where are you on this? You know, can we negotiate typical card show stuff? And I mean, they were offering me $10 off, $20 off. And I said, listen, I'll hand you cash. You know, let's come to the middle. You know, the pricing is this. And they say, I'm sorry, I'm into this for this much. I can't take the loss on it. Well, okay. You know, so there was no deal. You know, a year ago, I'd buy that card. A year ago, that card is mine. Now, what do I pay for it? Probably more, but that deal happens. And right now, those deals weren't. You know, we were not able to consummate.
Cousin Tony, cousin Oz, you do the Fishtown show. You set up there, but I'm sure with both of you, you know, we do get to walk around and get the vibe there. Your kind of thoughts on either that or even piggybacking off of Danny's observations from Chantilly.
Well, I'll go first, Tone. Basically, I think the consumer has gotten a lot smarter, you know, over these last 2 years. You know, the hype when everybody came in, there was a ton of people. They just saw it, like I always say, like the gold rush. You know, it was a gravy train. You could buy a car today, and then tomorrow you could sell it for $50, $100 more. It didn't matter who it was. You could always just come up on something. And as people, you know, as time went on and people started realizing, especially base wasn't as valuable as it should be. The people that stuck around that are here now that are going to these shows, they realize, you know, obviously we're not going to go for base. And then, you know, when a lot of the dealers or the people that are selling or even, you know, the people that are buying, you know, they have these cars they either want to trade with or they want to sell, but they bought at the height of the market. So now it's a conundrum. You know, what are they going to do? Are they going to just bite the bullet, take the loss and just get rid of it and say, you know what, I'd rather get 60-70% of what I paid for it because it's better, like you said, than zero. Or they're just going to hold on to it and hope and pray that the market, you know, chimes up, which, you know, it should, but will it ever get back to where it was, you know, a year or two ago? I doubt it. But you never know. So it's just you know, it's a fine line. I know for myself, when I set up at the Fishtown card show, before the show even started, I got two offers for somebody to buy out my table. And I was like, whoa, so I was kind of like caught off guard with that. Now, of course, it was at a price that was well below what my, true value of the cards were. Um, which, so we didn't get to the price that I really wanted, but we did some sales. So I had a great day. But there was others that really didn't. So it's like a catch-22 in the hobby right now. What you want to do as a buyer and what you want to do as a seller, because the prices, the dip, it's the card values, and like I said, a lot of the cards, especially, if you bought in the last 2 years, you put a lot of money into these cards, so you're not going to get what you got into it.
Yeah, and we talk about this often too, because it's like now it's basically a reset. Yeah, I mean, because we had some crazy phenomenon that happened, and so what are the odds that for these dealers that are holding on to these cars that they way overpaid for 2 years ago, so now you need something else like that to happen again and hope that. So what are the odds that a card that went up, say 120%, is then now gonna like it's super low? Like there's no reason, like I said, and everybody's hip to the game. Like the buyers are smarter, and unfortunately, maybe the dealer's just gonna have to take a hit and start over again. It's all right. Like I mean, you were winning there, you couldn't lose. So
you
to
can,
take a little L now, it's not the end of the
yeah,
world, because you should be up. You should be up if you're a dealer and you knew
yeah,
what you were doing. There's no reason to be down the last 2 years.
yeah. As a seller too, guys, you know this too. You can, take a loss and get out of one card and then put that money into something else, especially during the dip, as you said, that is not going to stay there forever. Now you got to be patient. You might have to wait. That's part of this hobby. But if you're a seller, that's a play, you can make. Get out of one card, even at a loss, and hopefully what you buy to, offsets that loss at the end of whatever day that card sells. But
Right.
just hold it. You can stay on the ride too long, right?
Yep.
That happens. I've done that. I mean, it's nothing to be ashamed of. It happens. It's part of what we do. Real quick, want to thank those that have donated. That '70s card show. Scooter Cooter Lev, thank you. Who else we got? I'm scrolling up. Greggy F. All right, here we go. Sorry, guys, but I want to give, some thanks for people being generous and doing that sort of thing. Colorado sports dude, you're welcome. Thanks for the topics, he said. And Matt got cut off there, but Matthew Hellerman. Hellerman. So thank you guys. We appreciate that. It goes to a good cause, and you may win a multitude of prizes. For me, guys, it's like I said, right now I've sort of cut off my buying with the National coming up and bought a couple bigger cards. But I, I look at this as it's an opportunity, kind of what I just said, to buy some cards that are probably not going to stay down on the mat forever. They're going to, maybe take a standing eight and get up and eventually be okay. Sometimes we guess wrong. It's not an exact science, but if you can guess right more times than wrong, then you come out ahead. So I think it was going to happen. You had two incredible perfect storm years with surplus discretionary income, a lot of downtime, people with 10 tabs open on their computer. One was a work tab, the other nine were sports card related. I don't know if these companies track that stuff. I hope not, because I don't want anyone to get fired. But it was salad days for the hobby. We seen just go through the stratosphere. Believe me, as a seller, it was two of my best years. It rivaled even a couple of my store years, and I don't have a store, so that'll tell you something. But now you kind of knew that wasn't going to last forever. You just have to adapt, like you guys have said. Smart people are going to adapt and make smart decisions, and know what to do, and others are, you know, it is what it is. But I'm looking forward to buying some cards that, quite frankly, I said no to before that have come down. Now the question is kind of the example Danny said. Our dealers go, there's stuff I don't. The reason I asked you, Dan, about whether they put the cards out were overpriced and just didn't want to sell them is what I do. I'm a very transparent and honest guy. If I have a card that's at a comp that I just can't sell it for that, I just don't even put it out. I'm not going to
Hmm.
tease anybody. I'm not going to overprice it. Like, yeah, I know I'm $100 over the comp, but you know, you're only going to make someone mad when you do that. So I'm just going to keep that not out where someone can see it. You know, and honestly, if someone asked me about it, I'd probably either say one or two things. I don't have one, or I have one, but I'd almost buy it for what the comps are rather than even sell it for that. So that's why you don't see it out. But you know, deal. You know, we're gonna get to a. This thing is not going to be over next week, so to speak. So these dealers have to determine. You know, it's going. You know, we got the national. We're 31 days away from the national. It's going to be interesting to see the vibe in that room. We're all going. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
Uh, and so is what you saw in Chantilly, Danny? Are we going to see that in Atlantic City?
There are two signs that I saw at dealers' tables that I haven't seen in years. One is make any offer you want. The second one is price is firm. So you got dealers handling it two ways, and that's exactly what you're talking to, John. So when they put out the high price card that's over comp, and then they write firm, you know they're into it for well over comp, and they're choosing to not negotiate on that. When they say offer anything, that's somebody who's willing to cash out and take the money off the table. So I saw both extremes, and I think every dealer, depending on their own situation, is going to have to go to one extreme or the other. And I think, John, you're right. It'll be interesting at the national how many people are firm and how many people are making offer. But I think you'll see that far more than we've seen in the last couple of years, where everybody's buying.
Yeah,
And you,
don't put those out. Don't even like you're just gonna create more angst. People are gonna get mad at you. Like, why are you over? And what do you think? What happens at shows? Right, we're all at the show, right? And I talk to that guy. He's well over cops. And then we meet up somewhere in the middle of the floor, and I'm like, man, that guy over there is way over cops. You're just gonna get a negative kind of
yeah.
Yelp review, right? Don't even put the cards out. Put the cards you really want to sell or where the market is, so you avoid that sort of negative discussion like that. But go ahead, guys. I know.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say I know a lot of people out there, a lot of dealers are actually they're pricing their cards, you know, what it's going to be comparable to at the national, which is higher than comps. So I really believe that a lot of people are going to go in with that firm mentality the first couple of days, like almost as a last hurrah to try to get as much money as they can. And then when they realize, ooh, this isn't going the way it was, then hey, make any offer, you know, Saturday into Sunday.
He's gonna flip
When
the
it,
sign around.
yeah, yeah, you know
Mhm.
what I mean. When they realize, damn, I got way too much inventory because I was trying to stay
Mhm.
firm and make what I could make. So, and then there's gonna be people out there that just realize the market is what the market is. You know what I mean? Make the money that you can make, and then take that money that you got and put it into something that you know is a true investable, or that you can add, you know, something to your PC. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, it's funny. So we talked about this is actually we talked about this and it's coming out tomorrow. So it's just like really fresh in my
Preview.
mind.
It's a preview.
Yeah,
For
it's crazy
tomorrow.
because it's like okay. The other thing too though is that new floors have been set for these cards, so you got to look at it that way too. So it's not just it's just for whatever reason, those cards they were never meant to be that high. Let's be honest. Like again, it took a crazy thing and so. But to have that type of attitude where it's just like this is it, and well, you're going to be taking that card home, man.
I like the sign, Danny. You said, "Feel free to make an offer." Like you need to put that out there for someone to make. Like people are going to make offers. You don't need to.
I mean, they might as well say my rent is due on the 1st. You know.
Like
Yeah.
people like as a dealer when I'm set up at shows, people make me offers. I don't need to put a sign like "Feel free to make an offer." This
Well,
is
I'm saying that,
America.
that's the
People
change of the
feel-
dynamic. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's funny. But thank you, Reindeer Studios, with a donation for charity in the super chat. Great artist, by the way. Check out what they do. Just amazing, amazing work. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking. It's probably the one question that I want to see at the national is, are the dealers going to adapt to where we're at? Right. I guess my second question would be what the grading companies do now in person at the Super Bowl of the hobby. The Nationals where you have the most people in the hobby at one place at one time from corporate, from collector to dealer. More all the eyes are there. What are you going to do? HTC, who I love and obviously sponsored. I tried to even I could get the 3 free subs from them. They won't tell me what they're doing at the National, whether they're grading on site or doing what they did last year, which was a bunch of giveaways and breaks, and that went great. They had a great crowd. It was noisy. Peter Steinberg became a breaker for the week. Did a pretty good job for a rookie. I told him, and so if someone gunned ahead, I had to predict. I think that's what they're going to do again, but that's all speculation on my part. That's not coming from inside their building. PSA is going to grade on site. We'll see what they do with prices. Probably looking at $100 if you want to get it back before you leave and go home from the show that week. But it's going to be a lot of things, right? Another question for me with the National is this is Fanatics is set up at the National every year, but this is their first year with the being a card manufacturer now with the acquisition of Tops. What is that going to look like for them? There's a lot. They really need to put their best foot forward, right? We had the whole Luber thing. Their new CEO, Mahan, is a Hollywood guy, right? So what is their presentation? Are they going to be pro customer? Are they going to be doing a lot of giveaways or stuff where they sort of endear themselves to the collector. Right now, they sort of have a Hollywood. We want to increase the industry, 10 times is kind of their running platform. But I think we who have the money, right? That's who they need to really try to put a smile on their face. So how are they going to do that at the National, or is it going to be more of a corporate? And I don't know the answer to that. I'm just saying that's why one of the questions I'm looking forward to seeing at the event. You guys, we got about 3 minutes. Kind of what you're looking forward to at the net. Some of those questions you want to see get answered.
Cousins.
Oh, basically, real quick, I just seen a question pop up about PSA 10s and PSA slabs that are undervalued. That's me all day. That's anything I go on eBay and I see a PSA 10 of my favorite player, say Allen Iverson, or one of my other PC cards. I'm snagging those up. You can get them for 20, 30, $50. Why wouldn't you? I mean, obviously, as time goes on, those cards, again, if it's a base card, maybe not. But if it's a numbered card or some type of color card, why wouldn't you grab that at $20 and then wait for it to go up? So
Yeah, and I'll just real quick for me for National, it's like I said, dude, the buyers, we're smarter buyers now. There's apps you can pull up and it's going to tell you what cards are selling for and all that stuff. So the old way of guys keeping all that stuff secret, it's out. So dealers are just going to have to adjust. Like I said, you guys ate well. Now it's time to share the wealth a little bit.
And I'll just finish off with my old man comment. Don't be afraid to talk to people. I've noticed the change in generations. There's a lot less talking in relationships, it shows now. I've been doing this for 30 years. I still learn every day at a show. I spent yesterday and I probably asked 10 different dealers questions about stuff that I wanted to learn even if I wasn't buying it. If you go to the National, find friends, talk to dealers. It's a community. It's a tight community. There are very good people that will help you out. We're not in competition. We can all rise together. So don't be afraid to reach out. As you can see here, this is a fantastic people doing fantastic things, and we're all having fun.
Amen.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's a great sentiment too, Danny. I don't care how old you are. I've been doing this a long time. If you're not learning something every day with the way this hobby, the news cycle that we're on the last couple years, every day something breaks. If you're not learning something in this hobby every day, I don't care whether you've been in it 38 years like me or 2 weeks like someone else. It doesn't matter because I'm learning stuff every day, and even if you think you know everything, you don't because things change course. And so I think it keeps me young. I'm not necessarily a young guy, but the way that this hobby is, it keeps me on my toes. It's fun, and at the national, have fun. It's a great event. You make a great point, Danny. I look forward to hanging with you guys, talking in person, buying a few things, hopefully. But the people the stories behind the cards, right? The stuff we're there for the cards. That's why we're in the hobby. I don't want to make poo poo that, but all the stories and friendships and things you do besides the cards that sort of center around the cards, you can't put a price on that stuff, and you always have that. And every year I go to the national, you make new stories, new memories, and that's some of the things I look forward to. And I always say you can go to the national and not spend a ton of money and still have a good time if you do those sort of things. And that's really what it's about. So we're
But you
at
will,
the
but you will spend a ton of money.
yeah. I'm gonna put my credit cards away. So I'm not even going to read that. So, all right, guys. Well, listen, Tony, Oz, Danny, I tell you what, that was the fastest hour I've ever done as
Yeah.
far as content. And we probably could have did a lot more. Thank you, everyone in the chat room for great comments and compliments. They did not go unnoticed. Those who donated super chat for all those prizes and charity, thank you again. It's a sincere thank you from all of us. And thank you again to Bench Clear, Ty and Mike for allowing us on. And we had a blast today. There's more content coming the rest of the day, so check all those shows out. And we'll see you again, Sports Card Nation on Friday, Monday Hobby Quick Hits. Cousins, you guys are tomorrow, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Every Monday.
And Danny, real quick, just kind of close us out when you're.
You'll find me on the Odyssey app on Sports with Coleman doing Collector's Chat. Also, you'll find my podcast and YouTube channel. Everything is at Sports Balt, and that's Balt short for Baltimore.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you. We'll see you down the road. And if you see me at National, come up to me, shake a hand. I'm glad to talk some life, talk some hobby. Love doing it. So take care, be well, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.